there he is. Welcome, Councillor Kern. It is 6:30. I will call the Tuesday, December 15th meeting of the Superior Common Council to order. Those of you in the room, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Just have to listen like that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councillor Ledeen.
Here.
Councillor Van Sickle.
Here.
Councillor Bender.
Here.
Councillor Sweeney.
Here.
Councillor Fennessy.
Here.
Councillor Elm.
Here.
Councillor Ludwig.
Here.
Councillor Sutherland.
Here.
Councillor Kern.
Here.
And Councillor Dobek.
Here.
We do have a quorum. Everyone is present. First item is approval of the minutes from the December 1st regular council meeting and the December 8th special council meeting.
So motion to approve.
The motion is by Councillor Elm, the second by Councillor Bender. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item 4.1 is a presentation by Friends of the Lake Superior Reserve. I believe someone is on the video for that organization.
Do I have my presenter from the Lake Superior Reserve?
Sorry, I just had to turn my microphone on.
The floor is yours. Thank you and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me this evening. Just going to share my screen here. Are you all able to see some slides?
Push this up here.
No, we cannot see that.
No, we cannot.
No, I cannot.
Hang on a
I
second.
can't see
I
anything.
just realized I didn't actually hit the button to share.
There you are.
You are seeing them now?
Yes.
Perfect. First of all, thanks everybody for having a little bit of time with me this evening. I appreciate the opportunity to present to you all. I had the opportunity to meet the mayor and a couple of council members out in the Bear Creek Trail opening a few weeks ago. Really enjoyed that and look forward to further engagement with staff and council and the community. And I want to thank Linda Cadat of the Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department as well for facilitating this presentation. And I should say lastly, before I get started, that this is really intended to be a follow-on from Deanna Erickson's presentation a few weeks ago from the Lake Superior Reserve. As you can tell, we are pretty closely tied with the Lake Superior Reserve. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as I go along. I want to say, first of all, that a lot of what the Friends do is related to the passion that the members and the board members in particular have for the greater Twin Ports area. And I want to direct my comments tonight specifically to the Superior area. And I like to think about a lot of what we do is trying to inspire people about the St. Louis River, the estuary, the rivers that flow into the estuary, and the lands across which those waters flow. And inspiration takes many forms. It can be just you enjoy fishing, or you enjoy just the natural environment as well, or you like relaxing on the beach at Wisconsin Point. Any and all of those and many other ways are things that inspire people to enjoy our natural world. And that inspiration sometimes translates into passion. And that's how it is that we, as the Friends of Lake Superior Reserve, drive our vision to passionately embrace the St. Louis River, the waters that flow into it, and the lands those waters flow over. I want to touch briefly on our board. We've got a real excellent group of folks that have been involved and engaged in the area for many years, and also have a couple of Superior residents, one who was a founding board member and just left our board after 4 years, and Jermaine Klum in particular, who's become very active in some of our volunteer efforts, which I'll describe in a little bit. Our mission, pretty simply, is to connect people to the estuary and the lands and to help protect and enhance them. Again, we work very closely with Lake Superior Reserve in both extending reserve programs as well as complementing reserve programs. Those two may sound similar words, but I'll explain what I mean and the differentiation between the two of those as we go along through some of the rest of the slides. I also wanted to point out the logos. Friends of the Lake Superior Reserve, our logo, and the Reserve's logo. We're purposely selected so that we are not only in close coordination and helping relationship with them, but also to help people understand when they see each other's logos that they are familiar together as well as separately. So, sprouting from our mission, our work encompasses these kinds of activities: advocacy, fundraising, supporting the reserve directly, supporting the reserve's partners, as well as conducting events for which we need volunteers. So we solicit and engage volunteers. We do various forms of community engagement. I'll cite some examples of that as well. Communications is a big part of what we do, to let people know who we are and what we do, what we're about, opportunities for them to become involved as well as enjoy the events that we put on. And then to do all of that and get better at it over time, we have to spend some time just growing culture and developing and expanding our capabilities. So I'll talk about each of these in brief here. So I'm going to start and end this presentation by focusing on events and volunteers. On this slide are depicted on the top an example of a photo from one of we're about to have our 4th annual member meeting in we would have had at the Estuarium on Parker's Island, except for the fact that we're going to have to do this one virtual, unfortunately. But that's usually a pretty popular event, and people enjoy that. We usually have refreshments and such, as well as a guest speaker. Over to the left is Matt Steiger from Wisconsin DNR doing a presentation at Lake Superior Day that the Reserve produces each July. And then on the bottom is an example of a picture from Wisconsin Point, and I don't want to get too far ahead of that story. I'll talk more about that towards the end of the presentation. Advocacy is something that we take pretty seriously, and one thing, frankly, that the Reserve itself cannot do. Since it gets government funding, it can't then also advocate with Congress for continued support for funding that helps support the Reserve or extends funding where it's useful and necessary. So that's an important role that the Friends play, is engaging with congressional staff as well as congressional members and getting involved with specific appropriations. 2 examples of that are the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, is the administrator for the National Estuary Research Reserve Program, but also for the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative that sometimes the Reserve is the beneficiary of from some of its partners in the area applying for funding at the DLI, whether it's the local units of government, state agencies, or other private entities that do work directly on the land and waters within the estuary. And then we also do work related to grants and fundraising. Some of the more simple efforts relate to, as in the upper left, gift sales in the estuarium or at events like our first ever beach cleanup that we did in September, as well as Lake Superior Day and other events like the annual St. Louis River Summit. Next to that is a tree. We had a tree seedling sale a couple of years ago that was quite successful, and thanks to the city for taking on a bunch of those seedlings or some of their efforts. That was a big help to the success of our tree sale. We also have a gift box in the estuarium. So, and if you've ever been over there or would like to come and visit again, it's a great place to learn more about the estuary and the area. We have a cash donation box there. And we also, after a couple of unsuccessful attempts, were successful in getting our first grant this year from the National Estuarine Research Reserve Association, which is a kind of a service organization for the system of 29 estuarine research reserves. And they're providing in-kind support to help us develop a short-term communications plan and elevator pitch for our organization, as well as help kick off and organize our events for our first ever volunteer event, again on Wisconsin Point a couple months back. When I was referring to helping the Friends organization grow, some of that is growing membership, but also some of it is achieving some level of operational capacity. And so the bottom shot here is a screen example of our customer relationship management system, which allows us to track volunteer hours, the volunteers themselves, the efforts of our board members, donors, members, and keep in good contact with them, as well as to be able to produce reports of all those volunteer hours that our members and board members offer, so that they can be used by the reserve to report in-kind contributions and grants that they write and other activities. Another specific area that we've delved into in sort of evolving our organization recently is the pretty strong call for more conservative efforts related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are in the midst right now of developing a set of guidelines or best practices, if you will, to inform all of the activities that we engage in with the reserve. We're going to be looking for specific opportunities to engage in disadvantaged communities, communities of color, indigenous communities, and others, and conduct events and other activities to help provide opportunities for those communities. A lot of what we need to engage in, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, is dependent on effective communications and getting the word out about what we're up to, what we can do, and things people can get involved in, and ways in which some of the activities that we engage in and the estuary and the lands around it can help benefit the community. So we started those efforts with a brochure a few years ago. On the top, we just released the second iteration of our web page that we're pretty excited about. It's much cleaner, more attractive, and easier to get at information. And then on the bottom is an example of our, actually that isn't our most recent newsletter. We've issued one in November since then, but to let people know what's up and what we're engaged in and what they can get involved in, as well as get to know our board and members and activities that are going on with the reserve itself. We're, again, part of our effort for communications right now is developing a 6 to 12 month communications plan revolved around a more aggressive set of activities that we're going to be engaging in 2021. And oops, next slide, Mike. Some of the directories that we support the reserve are on the top left. We produced a handful of field trips and outings related to the national meeting that occurs each year of the whole Estuarine Research Reserve System. There's 300 or so people that came to the Twin Ports area, and we had some very successful outings that we coordinated. On the lower portion is a slide of one of our former reserve staff members and one of our founding board members, who are part of what's called the Marine Operations Support Team that helps operate the 25-foot research boat that the reserve has. All of us have gotten trained, including myself. That includes first aid and boat operations and group management and those sorts of activities. We also established and donated, I should say, sort of catalyzed to get established is a line specifically related to the reserve at UW Foundation. So it's very easy now to directly donate funds that directly support the reserve. You can do that by going to our website and clicking on the donate button and scrolling down, and very easy to help the reserve in a very direct financial way. Another way that we expect we're going to be getting engaged with the reserve and supporting them directly is, I don't know if Deanna may have mentioned this in her talk a couple of weeks ago, but the reserve just had their next 5-year management plan approved and circulated via Federal Register. And in that plan is a dormitory that would sit directly between the estuary building and reserve headquarters. And we'll certainly be engaged in fundraising activities for the match that's required for that facility. We'll get a significant amount of money from NOAA as well, but we'll have to do some local fundraising to support that building as well. And we expect that's going to have some economic impact from the several dozen people that could be there at any one point in time, depending on the time of year. And in addition to supporting reserve partners, we also are involved in local support as well. A couple of our board members were directly involved in advocacy for the proposal that was sent off to, I think it was Wisconsin Coastal Management, to get funding for improvements in the boat ramp area along Billings Road. Pretty excited about that. And we also support partners beyond those directly involved in the reserve boundaries. St. Louis River Alliance, as an example, we provided a modest donation to help support the maps that we produced for the St. Louis River Estuary Water Trail, which, good news, was just recently designated as, nationally as a recognized water trail. So that was great to hear. And we're also working on engaging with the community more broadly. So as we speak, we're submitting applications for membership in both the Superior Douglas County Chamber as well as the Duluth Area Chamber of Commerce, and look for opportunities to engage with them and help their members understand what we do and how what we're engaged in can help their businesses as well. And then finally, I want to come back to Wisconsin Point. We submitted an application recently to Linda to adopt Wisconsin Point as an organization. And we're really thrilled to be able to do that. We're happy to take on the responsibility to do beach cleanups 2 or 3 times a year for all 5 of the parking areas and the beaches around them, as well as hopefully conduct some other either volunteer or enjoyment sort of events there as well. And I'm thankful for Linda's guidance as we submitted that proposal, and look forward to a growing relationship with the city related to that adoption. I just wanted to insert one real, from my perspective, heartwarming anecdote, by the way. The morning of the beach cleanup, September 26th, I get a text message from somebody in Duluth saying, "Are you still doing the beach cleanup?" Because it was not the most desirable weather. It was chilly and it was kind of rainy. At least it was at some point in the morning. And I said, "Sure, come on down." And they said, "Can we bring a bunch of kids?" And I said, "Sure." Well, it turns out it was 5 foster kids and their foster parents. And they went out and did an awesome job collecting a bunch of garbage. I think it was at Loft 4 that they went into. And we happened to be giving away stickers for any families that brought kids. And so they had these Lake Superior stickers that each of them stuck on their hand and put their hands in a sort of a circle, and then sent us off the picture for us to enjoy. It was a really great story. So with that, I'll leave it. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I will leave you with this sort of last slide, and I'd be interested in learning either tonight or in the future what inspires you all about the estuary and the river and the rivers in the lands that they flow across. So with that, I will stop sharing, and thank you for the opportunity for presenting.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments for the Friends of the Lake Superior Reserve?
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Bender. Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Have a good night.
Item number 5 is correspondence to be filed. There's no action required. 6.1 is the mayor's report.
Good evening, councilors, and thank you. It's getting pretty busy at the end of the year, and it's tough keeping up with everything, and so I'll try to give you a little scope of what we're paying attention to. Very soon you're going to get to see the new application for listing on our local registry of historic places. The Historic Preservation Commission has created that application, and it will allow us to list all places in Superior of historical significance. That will involve, the first stage of that will involve listing things that are already on other registries like the state and national, but nothing excludes. If you know of a special or historic place, fill out the application. Should see that fairly shortly. I read, a lot of you will have seen the Governor's Climate Task Force has completed their work and issued their report. Most of the recommendations were for the state government, but there were a lot of things that we can either implement ourselves or will have implications for how we interact with different state agencies coming up. I think most of it positive, especially seen as in Superior, we've seen some pretty catastrophic effects from climate change that's cost us quite a bit of money, and so having an ally in the state is going to be fairly helpful there. On that note, I've been working with Senator Baldwin's office at the federal level on trying to respond better to major emergencies that destroy infrastructure. And right now, as you might know, when we get something wiped out, typically we have to build, if we're going to get federal money, we have to build it back the same way it was before. Well, as the climate changes, the disasters are increasing and wiping out some infrastructure on a regular basis. And so we need to build it better than it was before so that it can be more resilient to a changing environment. There's a lot of good news there. It looks like we will be able to do things a little bit more effectively and efficiently going forward. It's budget season for the state government. There's a lot of work in tracking what's going to come out of the governor's budget, but right now it's all about trying to influence what goes into it. That's the first stage in a year-long legislative process, and we're going to be aggressively participating in both the public meetings, but also trying to create a very specific Superior agenda and get that into the governor's budget. That, however, obviously is challenging, and so we're working with a couple allies around the state to get a few key things, mostly related to revenue and our economy. Having a couple local conversations about virtual meeting attendance and how we should allow remote attendance when the pandemic has ended. So if you have strong opinions on that, let me know. We just started working on efforts to mitigate human trafficking in Superior. This is something that actually happens. There are real victims living in our community and that are getting victimized on a regular basis. I think our police department has some good policies, and we do what we can to respond, but we need to be doing better and protect every victim that we come into contact with, and in fact seek a lot out. So I hope I'll have some proposals for you in the coming weeks. We've started working on the Tower Avenue project from south of Belknap. Try to speed through the rest of this. And then a lot of news out of the federal government. President-elect Biden's cabinet is starting to come together, and that does have a lot of implications for the city. Cabinet officials at the federal level are even more powerful than the state level in their ability to affect rule changes and grant opportunities that can be very significant for the city. And so we're paying attention to that. They're kind of like little presidents unto themselves, and so some of these departments matter to us a great deal. In fact, just today, seems like we have a designee for or a nominee for the Department of Transportation, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who I think should be a fairly friendly voice for a city like ours, particularly on the type of transportation projects we've been working on. And I believe that concludes my report. Are there any questions? Oh, there are a few things I missed, but they can wait till next time. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, item number 6.2 is, I'm sorry, 6.2 is a resolution from the mayor relating to declaring a health emergency response to the COVID-19 virus.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilor Elm, a second by Councilor Bender. Councilors, I was asked to give something of an update and description of this. This is substantially similar to the very first resolution that I proposed to you in March, accepting a paragraph that I think all of you will have seen by now, declaring that we will join other partners at the state and local level in any emergency orders that they issue and lend our enforcement ability to a combined effort to protect the public. Otherwise, the language is the same. This will extend the emergency until February 28th. That is something of an arbitrary date, but it wasn't pulled out of nowhere. Generally, I was targeting a timeline of about 60 days, and I thought 2 months was fairly clean. Our last council meeting in February will give us plenty of time if we need to extend it from then, which I think is likely. But it's also an opportunity, even though I believe we'll need it longer than February, it's an opportunity to come back and check with the council again, which I think is healthy. Ultimately, the reasons are the same, even though the pandemic has changed significantly since we last discussed this. Obviously, we don't know what additional state and federal aid will come our way. There are bills moving, at least discussed, in the state legislature, and it looks like there's some real bipartisan action on a bill at the federal level as well. We could get a bill by the end of the year, and if we don't, President-elect Biden is likely to propose something shortly after inauguration. So usually, federal disaster money tends to require a state of emergency, so that we want to be tracking all of our expenses during that emergency. We also have a few, we have used this for a few internal policies, namely some employee policies that we have adopted, partially to keep in line with federal law that's passed, but a few other things just to make sure that we're looking out for our own employees. These policies are all temporary in nature for the life of the pandemic and related to the pandemic. A lot of them relate to sick time, and especially as we get into the new year, our employees will lose some benefits that were provided by the federal government, and I want to make sure that we can respond and still protect the people that work for us. Also, meetings like this, I think, are going to stay necessary, and we need to be in a state of emergency if we are not going to be following the open meeting law. And finally, and most importantly, we are in an actual emergency, one that is escalated dramatically since the last time we've spoken about this. In the month since the pandemic first arrived in Douglas County, thousands of our fellow citizens have been infected, scores have been hospitalized with serious illness, and dozens have died. So I think it's very important that we say to our citizens that we are taking this seriously and we are prepared to act if there are ways that we can protect public health and save lives. That is all I have to say about it, absent your questions, and therefore discussion.
Mayor Payne.
Councilor Sutherland.
Thank you. I have looked over this. I've talked to you earlier today. I just had, the last time we not the last time, but the first time we discussed this, I believe was it March?
Yes.
When we first declared? Okay, yeah, I don't know the exact age. In that area. Did we strike out the language for imprisonment and fines?
Yes.
All right. So the last time some councilors weren't here before, we struck out in this document it says fines up to $100 and or imprisonment up to 6 months. That's what gets me. I mean, we don't know people's situations, what's going on here. I'd ask that we amend, that we strike out that paragraph for punishment, and I would like to make an amendment along with this amendment, go from 60 days to 30 days, just to see where we're at in 30 days. We have my opinion is we are in a city within a healthy within a county that their own it's expired. Their own emergency order has expired, and they haven't re-upped it. The health department, our county has a health department, and they're not even doing it. That's where I'm kind of confused at this. I mean, our schools are opening back up come early January. Vaccines are here within the Twin Ports as we speak. I don't know if we're doing this for the right reasons or is it just for funding, but at the same time, I want us to have a compromise here. Maybe if we can do 30 days. But now we're going to create the emergency order with punishment to it. It turns me off about the whole thing and the time frame. I wonder if we can do this 30 days at a time. And I guess my opinion is I'm just afraid of what's next. Well, I mean, we've utilized this emergency order. You could have made a decision on the masks, but you went to the council, if I'm correct on that, which I really respected. I'm thinking moving forward, we could even do that too. But if we could amend this just to strike out the punishment side of it and turn that 60 days into 30 days.
I'll second that.
The motion is by Counselor Sutherland, second by Counselor Fennessy to strike the paragraph, the second from final paragraph relating to fines and imprisonment, and to amend the date at which it is to read, rather than February 28th, 2021, 30 days from adoption. Is that amendment correct, Counselor?
Or would it be meant 30 days from the end of the expiration of our existing one, so the end of January?
To read 30 days from the expiration of the existing state of emergency, in place of February 28th.
Yes.
Discussion on the amendment.
I have a question. This is Counselor Sweeney. Is this one amendment or two?
This is one amendment, Counselor, that does two things.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, if I could.
Counselor Fennessy.
I think this makes a lot of sense to narrow it down to 30 days for a couple reasons. Like Councilor Sutherland already alluded to, there's been some drastic changes even in the last 30 days. We've got, but like you said, schools, they've now voted to go back in session. The Douglas County allowed their emergency order to expire. Right now we're seeing an influx in bars and restaurants in Superior because Minnesota shut down. Who knows what Waltz is going to do next week. Vaccines are going to be here literally any day now. And then also, I think it's important to note that the number of active cases in Douglas County has been rapidly decreasing, where today we're at about half of where we were for active cases on December 1st. So if we look at what all has transpired in the last 30 days, what it looks like today is significantly different than what it looked like on December 1st. And what it looks like on January 1st, if we continue on this trend, hopefully is going to look significantly different at the end of January. And I think what this allows us to do is bridge the gap until the end of January to see where we fit at the where the situation lies at the end of January. I think this is a good amendment to make, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Further discussion.
Roll call vote.
We will vote by roll call. Is there further discussion?
This is Councilor Elm here. I guess I have a question. Like, if the fines are removed, maybe the punishment, for the lack of better words, removed, what does that give us the ability to do? I mean, what kind of teeth are being removed from this, and how does this still allow us to protect our citizens?
I would argue, Council, if you're asking me, I'm not sure if that's rhetorical, but if you're asking me, I would argue that It seeks to take out whatever enforcement mechanism we have. That's not to say we couldn't affect some form of enforcement depending on what the nature of the violation was, but state statute provides that we can enforce our emergency ordinances. In fact, I believe that this is relatively forgiving compared to state statute, which I think allows a fine of up to $200. So I would argue that this limits our ability to effectively respond.
Mayor Payne.
Councilor Elmstead has the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, thanks for that information.
Was there further discussion before I award the floor to Councilor Sutherland? Councilor Sutherland, then.
Yeah, I just wanted to we did pass this before with, I don't know the support of it when we struck out that language. I just asked that we do the same thing.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Mayor, a couple questions. If this is Councilor Kern, if this order was set to expire, you kind of alluded to in your mayor's report that we would have to look at the ability to change for virtual meetings. And regardless if we extend this past 30 days and we still feel that virtual meetings are needed while we end this the pandemic, do we have an avenue to be able to do that, or is this emergency order going to eliminate that entirely?
The attorney might be able to provide more context, but the Attorney General has advised that during the state of emergency, they would, I don't know how to describe it, but tolerate violations of open meeting law. The advantage of a state of emergency is that the statute allows us as a local community, as a governing body, to take action that we think is necessary or expedient to protect the health of the community. So if we were to put the attorney into a position to defend us for violating public meeting law, we want to give him as many tools as possible to say not only did the Attorney General give us a form of permission, but we were taking action under a duly authorized state of emergency as well.
Thank you. And then one other question. Do you foresee anything in the near future that you might have to use any of your executive powers?
That's a challenging question. I think that moment may have passed. I have been very reluctant to issue any kind of emergency restrictions on my own for the community at large. Obviously, I've taken a number of actions administratively within the city, but I think if I was going to take an action, well, I know if I was going to take an action, I would want that to be on the advice of a public health expert and official. So namely the Douglas County Public Health Officer, potentially the Secretary for Health and Human Services. If there was an epidemiologist from the CDC that called me, I would take that too. But my greatest concern is I recognize that any restriction we impose on communities or on the community will have some consequences. Now, I don't believe most of those consequences will be as grave as the deaths that are actually happening in our community right now. And therefore, if it will save lives, I will happily impose it regardless of the ancillary consequences. However, because I'm not a public health or medical expert, I need an expert to tell me that any action would in fact help protect public health.
Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment.
Mayor Payne, just a couple of comments. I just want, if I remember this correctly, the first time this council passed this back in March, we had less than 20 active cases in Douglas County. So now that we've moved into the thousands without any teeth, it's maybe worth recognizing in hindsight that was a mistake. And $100 fine. I don't know if we have a fine lower than that. But either way, this council has not yet addressed the influx from Minnesota. And as this is expiring, I mean, we have no restrictions. Which means we have no protections. We have no curfew. We have no capacity limits. This is literally the bare minimum that we can pass as a council on behalf of our residents. And I also need to be very clear on the science here. Being down from December 1 is hardly something to be celebrating because Wisconsin has been skyrocketing for months, breaking infection records. So being down from December 1 is good in that our hospitals are trying to manage overloads and people are fighting for their lives. Employees have been infected and beyond. I can't imagine watering this down an ounce. Thanks.
But before we vote, I just want to clarify, two counselors have now referenced it, and I don't believe this fact is accurate. The the most recent Douglas County data released on active cases or positive cases reported by the week was reported on December 6th with cases similar to the previous 2 weeks of about, I don't know, that looks 250 to 300 cases. The most current data is only for the past 2 days, December 13th through 15th. It is not the last week. So that most recent data is not complete for the week, and that might be what counselors are seeing. All right, is there further discussion on the amendment?
Mayor.
Counselor Fennessy.
Could you repeat that? There's a ton of background noise, and I think I caught about every other word you said about that correction that you want to make.
Yeah, if everybody could hold their breath just a moment. I don't believe cases, two counselors have referenced cases dropping significantly in December, and I don't believe that is true. The most recent weeks on November 29th, Douglas County reported an increase in cases from the previous week. And I don't have the exact numbers here. I'm reading this just off the dashboard, but the bar graph appears to be somewhere around 300, a little more than that. It does look like a small decrease the week after that, reporting on December 6th of about 250 to 300. That's similar to 2 weeks before that. But the most recent data that I think counselors are looking at only covers the last 2 days, not the last week. It's December 13th and 15th. So I think that's a mistake. I think that was read wrong.
Okay, I think I heard you there. I can barely hear what you're saying. There's someone's got a bunch of background noise that I can't. And maybe it's on my end. If that's the case, then I'll just quit complaining.
I am not hearing significant background noise right now.
I am too.
Okay, nonetheless, if there is no further discussion on the amendment, I'm going to proceed to a roll call vote.
And we're only voting on the amendment, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry. The amendment, I will paraphrase unless there are questions.
Okay, please do.
The amendment is to remove the language relating to enforcement, the fines and imprisonment penalty, and concurrently, and to amend the expiration date to 30 days from the expiration of our ordinance, which would be of our resolution, which would be January 30th. Does anybody have questions about the vote? We will proceed by roll call.
Counselor Ledeen. Sorry.
No.
Counselor Ledeen, no. Counselor Van Sickle.
No.
Counselor Bender.
No.
Counselor Sweeney.
No.
Counselor Fennessy.
Yes.
Counselor Elm.
No.
Counselor Ludwig.
No.
Counselor Sutherland.
Yes.
Counselor Kern.
Dalbeck.
Counselor Kern, your vote, please.
Yes.
Counselor Dahlbeck.
No.
That motion fails.
The main motion is to approve the resolution. Is there discussion?
Yeah, Mayor, if I could.
Counselor Fennessy.
With that, where it was a two-part motion, I wasn't. I'd like to kind of try and split that up, just kind of gauge the council's as far as where they're at. But where there's so many unknowns with COVID and where it's going to be a month from now, I'd like to offer a motion to strike out basically the sunset date of February 28th and replace it with January 31st, 2021, allowing us to revisit that a month from now instead of 30 days from now.
Unfortunately, Counselor, that motion is out of order. A motion that's already been dispensed with cannot be brought back on the same question.
Can you repeat that, Mayor? I'm having a terrible time hearing you.
The motion is out of order. We cannot bring back a question that has already been dispensed with without a motion to reconsider.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Thank you.
The question is on approval of the resolution.
Mayor Payne,
Counselor Sutherland.
could he have made that motion with a different date?
I did make it with a different date.
Okay, never mind. All right, sorry.
Counselor Sutherland's motion was 30 days. Mine was January 31st. I mean,
I never heard Jenny.
Yeah. I'm gonna argue that motion has been that motion has been dispensed with, and I would rule it out of order.
That's fair.
I think the reason, Counselor, so I'm clear, that would have required an amendment to the amendment at the time. And so the question was whether to change the date at all. The question of what date we should have in the resolution has been resolved. If there are further questions, pending an appeal, if there are further questions, I'm happy to answer them after the meeting. Okay, the question is on the approval of the resolution. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no.
No.
I better proceed by roll call, just to be safe.
Counselor Van Sickle.
Yes.
Counselor Bender.
Yes.
Counselor Sweeney.
Yes.
Counselor Fennessy.
Yes.
Counselor Elm.
Yes.
Counselor Ludwig.
Yes.
Counselor Sutherland.
No.
Counselor Kern.
No.
Counselor Dahlbeck.
Yes.
Counselor Ledeen.
Yes.
That motion is
Did
adopted.
we miss a vote?
No, I started with Counselor Van Sickle and finished with Ledeen.
Yeah, okay, I just...
8-2.
Oh, yeah. The motion carries.
Item 7.1 is the Finance Committee recommendations from their November 30th meeting. Does the chair have a report?
Yes, I'll just make a few comments. As you can see, the items we're voting on tonight, we've talked about them in the past more than one time. We vetted them in the committee, most of these items 2 or 3 times. So that's my comment. I think we've done some good work, and I'd like to again thank the Finance Committee or the Finance Department always for preparing this for us. So I think there's some great things forward. With the golf course passing, we passed the resolution for funding some small business again. So that's a good move. So I think everything we vetted and we passed, and I think we're on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually have to do item number 2 separate as well.
Oh, okay. Item number 1 is a resolution extending the deadline for the use of funds to 2 years during COVID-19 pandemic as required by Section 74-68 for the City of Superior's ordinance.
What is your pleasure on the resolution?
Second.
Council, the motion, I believe, was by Councilor Elm, the second by Councilor Kern. Is there discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
Item number 2 also requires separate action. That's the recommendation to approve designating the Festival Committee as a special committee to the Finance Committee.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry, you spoke right at the same time. Who made the motion? Say your name, please.
Motion to approve was Councilor Bender.
And who made the second?
Second.
The motion is by Councilor Bender, the second by Councilor Sweeney. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries.
A motion to adopt the remainder of the recommendations would be in order.
So motion to approve.
The motion is by Counselor Sutherland, second by Counselor Bender. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 8.1 is a report from the chair from the Communications and Information Technology Committee from November 23rd. They had no recommendations to be approved.
Chairman Elm.
Yeah, so here's my report. The CIT committee's been pretty busy lately. After initial delays due to COVID, we've been working hard on the broadband master plan in the past couple months. At this November CIT committee meeting, the committee chose to go with the opt-in automated open access method compared to other municipal models for broadband and infrastructure. It provides the best value for the city, all while opening up other ISPs to provide service on the city's potential infrastructure. Currently, we have about 500 survey responses from the Connect Superior website, and that's still growing today. According to the consultant, this is a statistical relevant number. And the broadband master plan is projected to be complete early next year, so the CIT committee, the council, and the citizens can review it. IT Director Shea also gave us a brief update and that we're on track with the building inspection software. He also mentioned that there's been a reviewing of the proposal for GPS services on some of the city vehicles. And that's my update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there questions for the chair? Just a reminder, councilors, if you have special committee reports, even if your committee did not meet, or if you met and don't have business for the council, you're still welcome to give a report. If you're also, I was asked to mention, if you are on a special committee or a subcommittee whose chair is a citizen, I ask you to invite them to report to the council, either a written report or they can attend these meetings either virtually or in person when we get back to that. I think it would be valuable to hear from, we have a lot of committees that meet and we don't hear a lot from them, so it would always be valuable to hear those reports. Are there any other special committee reports? Thank you.
There is no old business, new business. I am recommending approval of miscellaneous licenses.
Motion to approve.
The motion is by Councilor Bender. Who made the second?
Sutherland.
The second is by Councilor Sutherland. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
Item 10.2 is I am recommending referral of Claim 2020 to the Claims Committee, Liability Claims Committee.
Second.
The motion is by Councilor Dahlbeck, the second by Councilor Bender. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries.
10.3, Collection System Engineering and Operations Manager Abramson and Environmental Services Director Roberts recommending approval to accept the award for bid for Itasca East 2nd Street and Scepter Hydrogen Sulfide Sanitary Sewer Rehabilitation to Michael's Pipe Service in the amount of $187,282.
Motion to approve.
Second.
The motion is by Councilor Dahlbeck, the second by Councilor Bender. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Is there any business by councilors, any reports? Then we have no further business and are adjourned. Thank you, councilors, and have a very happy
Bye,
holidays
everybody.
until I see
Hey,
you.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Feliz Navidad.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.